I work in HRE and I'm in the team for commercialization and innovation. And yes, we are working to commercialize space exploration. And for this reason, we've founded the Business and Space Growth Network, which is essentially a commercialization initiative that is similar to initiatives you know already from other directorates. Navigation, you have Navisp. For example, in TIA, you had Space Solutions. And so that is, we are trying to do similar things, but really focusing on exploration. And I'm here today to talk about the industry accelerators. So I'll give you a little bit of an introduction, what this is and what we are doing. And then we are joined also by our managing partners for each of the accelerators that we're building today. And they will give you an even better overview of their markets that they're trying to focus at. As you know, human and robotic exploration, we focus on LEO, the Moon, and also Mars. The commercial market, I think we see mostly LEO these days, but in our team, we also look at, for example, commercial missions to the Moon. We're involved also in the Moonlight program. But for the accelerators, I think most of the market opportunities are in the area of LEO and especially the ISS. That means in terms of opportunities, we have customers that we consider to be typically on Earth, and they can provide payloads, projects that are then sent to the International Space Station there for research technology demonstrations, ideally with a commercial motivation or interest, and then the results are either knowledge and insight, which can be valorized, or even manufactured goods. So we also have an accelerator focusing, for example, on in-orbit manufacturing. We know there's also a big upstream market emerging. We are looking at a more complex ecosystem in space with space resources, production of spare parts. We will have resupply missions, mission support services is something we're looking at more and more, where ESA is then an anchor customer. And in-orbit servicing and assembly, I think, is also something that is increasingly interlinking with space exploration. So it's really a complex economy that is emerging here, and we're trying to put mechanisms in place to help companies and also other public institutions to enter this new ecosystem. What we have already done in the past years, and many of you might already know this, so a very short overview. We have for the International Space Station already put in place our commercial partnerships. That means you can already today fly commercially to the International Space Station to do your project. It can be research. It can also be other things. We have many projects also, for example, in the area of art, education. So there's really, as long as it's in line with our let's say ethical convictions, there are different opportunities for companies to buy a ticket and put their project onto the space station. And you see here a little overview. So we had different things, even AI, live streaming, coding, biological, vaccine research. We had a COVID-19 drug that was tested on the space station to improve the delivery mechanism. So there is a whole range, biomining. So it's really growing, and we see more and more projects coming in every year. The Launchpad, which we call it, we've put in place, offers different mechanisms for companies to get help, because going to the International Space Station is still somewhat daunting to companies, especially those that are not working with space. And many of the use cases we see are really interesting for industries and agri-food and life sciences and advanced materials and manufacturing. And they never interfaced with space before. And that means it's really, first of all, I think they need to become accustomed to the idea of using space as an innovation laboratory to actually facilitate their commercial research or their technology development. So they need some initial help to get their ideas started, maturated, and also to understand what is technically feasible, what can be done in terms of valorizing the results, where is there any added value in terms of making a business out of these ideas. And we've put together different frameworks to help with these, help with all the steps from taking your idea to actually the space station, and then trying to also have a financial return or return on investment. We have the partnerships I already mentioned, which allow you to put your service into space, for example, to somewhat license existing infrastructure or develop new infrastructure or missions. We have the industry accelerators, which are really focused on helping companies from a specific market to go to space, to solve challenges, to develop new products and technologies for their market. There also comes then a lot of expertise from the consortium, which is managing this accelerator. And we have also the case call, which has been open for over a year now. which offers business and technical feasibility studies together with our colleagues in Artis and TIA. But today is all about the industry accelerators. The reason we have developed them, they are a little bit similar to the ESA BIG, but the main difference is really that they are market-centric, not regional. So they cover one market across all of Europe. We've done this because we see that a lot of the research that has been done in space has been proposed by research institutions and done together with ESA, and then perhaps at the end there was something that was of interest to industry and has been commercialized, but we also want to encourage industry to actually come with an idea and then go to space to improve it. So to really have also a more market-driven approach. But in order to do that, we need to know the market and we need to talk to the market and we need to understand the market. And that's where we felt we needed to build more cross-cutting, build more connections, because we have space know-how, we have space access, little bubbles you see here. We have funding, we can co-fund projects, but often we don't necessarily have the business know-how or the non-space network or the knowledge in the industries to actually connect all the dots and end the cycle in a way that delivers value. The industry accelerators provide this. They close the whole value chain, so to say, and their main aim is for this first phase that we're in right now to build a project portfolio and a program fund. So that means we've contracted 3 managing partners for 3 different fields, for 3 different markets. They are looking for investors. So if you know anyone who's interested in funding promising innovative projects that make use of the space environment, please connect them. And they're also looking for projects. There are still 2 calls for projects open. The teams will explain you all about it in the coming presentations. So also if you know teams that have an interest to do commercial R&D, tech demo, tech development, product development, or other innovative things in the space environment, for example, making use of microgravity or space resources, that is something that they can use this accelerator for to test. It's a growing network. They interface with existing commercial services that we have. That means they get a lot of space expertise with it. So that's really bridging their market knowledge with the whole combined knowledge that we have already in commercial services that are existing today. And this is an important point. The accelerators don't provide access to our institutional facilities. That will continue to be done through the size-based processes that are already set up. So this is really for making use of commercial services or identifying the need for new commercial services. And then we also have the funding, and all of this together already provides a nice and growing network that covers most of Europe. And then for projects that are incubated or accelerated, so to say, and managed to get into the program portfolio, they really get kind of an end-to-end acceleration and help in the different areas, from idea maturation to checking if it technically makes sense. Can it be done? Is there a commercial service that they can use? Which one would perhaps be best suited? To also looking at their business case. Does it make sense, for example, to produce space toilets? How many of those could you actually sell? Is that a business model? Could you break even with it? So it's really meant to provide support along the way and to make sure that at the end there is a successful outcome or product. And I think that's already it. So now we have today here Space Cooperative Europe. I was going to tell you more about the agriculture and food accelerator. So that's really their core focus. We have MEDES, which many in HRE might already know. They are leading the life sciences accelerator, so biomanufacturing, biomolecules, pharma, health. And we have Catapult today here as well. They have established the advanced materials and manufacturing accelerator. So they're really interested in nanomaterials, advanced ceramics, alloys, thin film systems, a whole range of advanced materials, and also in orbit manufacturing and orbit servicing, there's lots of overlap. And we will also initiate a space resources accelerator that is currently in preparation. So that's not covered today, but I think you already had a 3-part series on space resources very recently. So that's something we'll report on next year. And now I would like to hand over.
My name is Angelique Verrechia. I am a project coordinator at MEDES. I have a space system engineering background. And today I'm here to tell you about the life science industry accelerator, part of the BSGN. So let's have first a quick overview of the consortium. So of course there is us, the MEDES, which coordinate the project. MEDES also have an expertise in the field of physiology and medicine for human spaceflight. But we are also supported by France Biotech, which is an association who has a great connection and the community through the life science and focus on biotechnologies. And there is all very oriented about innovation. We also have support from CNES, Connect by CNES, which is which support the development of projects related to space. First, I will introduce you the challenges that the manufacturing companies or market have to face as a terrestrial challenge. So first, they have to innovate and provide new biomedicine and provide a disruptive solution from new sources in order to face incoming challenges that are quite numerous at the time. Then they have to face the problem. They have to produce a small volume of complex proteins or medicine, because we are targeting more and more personalized medicine. Then they have another challenge, which is the efficiency of a manufacturing chain. And they have to work, still working on the process in order to get more and more efficient. And then the model of the manufacturing chain is need to develop suitable tools in order to be more efficient for time and also money. So through an initial work that had been performed months ago, we identified that segments that would benefit the most from the microgravity in order to face all those challenges are the production of antibodies, therapeutic molecules and protein, and also the gene therapy vectors, the cell therapy, and also the vaccine. We also identified that the LEO orbit environment are an asset for them. For example, in microgravity, the living organism is gonna have a different behavior. The gene expression will be different. The morphological will be experience modification, and they're gonna have some change in the cellular physiology. Then it also accelerates the disease model. It will be an asset for the age-related disorder. And also the protein and crystal growth is completely different. Molecular crystal to grow larger than with fewer effect, and also polymorph of morphology or crystal still have to be discovered. And also it has some changes in the manufacturing process that could be performed in space. Mostly about the separation of products. You know, when we have for example, you might know the Nutella effect, you know, when you have the chocolate at the bottom and on the top the oil. This effect doesn't happen in microgravity. So it gives another overview and solves some issues for the manufacturing of products that are experiencing this problem. So now that we identified who can benefit from in the field of life science, who can benefit from the microgravity, I would like to introduce you a use case. For example, at the period we want to develop medicine for the COVID-19. We have a use case by the consortium in Studio and Cyclolab from Hungary. And through a space provider named IceCube Services, managed by the Space Application Services, they finally test COVID-19 medicine in microgravity and understand how the remdesivir. So this is remdesivir is a medicine that targets the virus, interact with its delivery substance to cyclodextrin so that the drug efficiency can be improved. So there are very technical words to describe how they can study the medicines in space. But the point is they can benefit from an asset for many aspects of technical, very aspect of the project. So I don't know if it is not my specialty to detail all this, but this was just an example of what can be performed in space. And so if I come back to what we are doing now, we are looking for two kinds of things. We are building a project portfolio, and also we are looking for sponsors that Lisa mentioned before. So right now we are a little bit more focused on building a project portfolio. So we have a call for ideas that will, it's still ongoing. People can apply up to the 10th of November. And what we are going to provide for them is to help them what we are looking for individual project or consortium. We are obviously looking for projects that are facing a terrestrial challenge that could be solved with the space environment. Of course, the owner of the project have to be a part of the ESA. It must be an ESA member state and part of the European Exploration Envelope program. And also people who are project owners who are neophytes or experienced with the space project are completely welcome. And so this is what we are looking for first, but we're also looking for sponsors. For sponsor the call, we're gonna run a call soon that will be set up very shortly. For the sponsor, the point is going to be they're gonna benefit from new discoveries and patents, and they're gonna also be a part of the process and try to make the business much more efficient. And it would be very valuable for them to be part of a space project, and it must also solve some societal issues. Then, if we come back to the selection of projects, what we are doing for the project, we're focused now on project. We're gonna help them to build a consortium or matching with space provider and sponsor. We also offer them a technical and business feasibilities about their project. We are also setting up and help them to launch the project into space, and we are also, of course, helping them with funding through the call for sponsors that we are going to perform soon. Then an overview of the timeline. So this is also this slide is also focused on the project, the portfolio that we are to build. So we run a call that we're gonna close on November 10th. It's going to be the first step. Then we're gonna do a pre-selection of project, and we are now collecting ideas, and then we're gonna turn all those the ideas into real proposal that we are going to collect up to December 16. We help them with the project definition, and in February we are supposed to close the project portfolio that we're gonna submit to ESA, and then we're gonna have a go/no-go phase with ESA. So I think that's all for me. So thank you very much for listening.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Hamid Soorghali, Senior Consultant from Satellite Applications Catapult and Program Lead for the Advanced Materials Accelerator. For some of you that may not know about Satellite Applications Catapult, we are a UK-based innovation and technology organization established by Innovate UK to grow this to grow the space sector capabilities of UK and also grow and integrate space solutions in diverse downstream applications. I'm here to give you an overview of the Advanced Materials Accelerator. So the accelerator is dedicated to market stimulation. That is essentially building demand for space-enabled solutions in the materials sector, but also facilitating new cross-sector collaborations to enable new innovations development between the two sectors. We are a consortium-driven accelerator made up of 6 partners that bring specialization and expertise across both space and advanced materials sector. Our mission is, as I mentioned, is to essentially maximize the utilization of space infrastructure, and that is through creation of a sustainable marketplace for commercial space research and development and its associated infrastructure and supply chains. And 2 pillars of activities that supports or enables that mission is, of course, market stimulation. We'll be promoting new cross-sector opportunities and engagements to support development of new industrial solutions, new engineering solutions that will essentially benefit and leverage space-based research and development and platforms. And we also, of course, like other accelerators, develop a portfolio of projects. Our portfolio will focus on advanced materials and manufacturing solutions that leverage microgravity engineering and research and development. The consortium is made up of 6, as I mentioned, European materials technology and space sector partners, whereby Satellite Applications Catapult is the prime lead. And in order for us to access deeply into our target markets, we've brought 4 research and technology organization with deep access in the materials sector. These include Center for Process Innovation, Institute of Materials Research of DLR, German Aerospace, AIM+, that brings expertise in polymers and composite systems, and National Composite Center, which is UK-based organization that works very closely with large OEMs developing and designing their materials and manufacturing solutions and designs. We also have KTN that brings cross-fertilization and specialization that allows us to do strategic market promotion deep in our targeted sectors. So why are we focusing on the advanced material sector? Because the sector really offers compelling proposition to this sector. Materials development can be transformative in microgravity environment. There's 2 decades of research that proves this area. There is the advanced material sector is also highly strategic. 70% of all technical innovations in critical systems and applications are directly or indirectly associated with advanced materials. The sector is also heavy R&D sector. In the typical companies within the industry invest around 10 to 15% of their capital on research and development to develop new classes of materials. For example, 3M, one of the largest players in the sector, has invested around $2 billion just on research and development in 2021. It is also a highly competitive industry. All the players are locked in intense competition to bring new products into the market. And also we have a very strong advanced material capabilities and research development sector within across Europe. The sector itself creates around 10 million jobs across Europe. There is around 3 billion invested annually in research and development. The reason we're focusing on research development is because we believe that the space-based research development market or microgravity market and space infrastructures can capture some of the share of this research development that's happening within the market. Now, in terms of opportunities that we are supporting, we've been working very hard since February to understand the opportunities for both kind of the space side and also the advanced materials side. Material sector has always played an important role in enabling a lot of applications, systems development in the space industry, and has also benefited from it. For example, carbon fiber composites developed for space applications are now making their way into the automotive sector, or they're making their way into the construction and aerospace sector, with multi hundreds of billions of market that's been created for the advanced materials sector. So there are also diverse opportunities for materials innovation, essentially spinning in the latest innovations from the materials sector to enable new emerging markets that's emerging within the space industry. As we all understand, the space industry is going to change rapidly. We are going to have massive infrastructure development, and we are entering essentially a new infrastructure development that requires significantly more advanced material solutions that's integrated. Some of the concept designs that we've seen for space-based solar power, some of these designs tell us that each assets, we are going to have multiple of these assets. Some of these assets are 1.6 kilometers in diameter. That really requires integrated advanced material solutions combined with other robotics and automation. So we'll be supporting innovations that can essentially come from the latest innovations in the sector, from the advanced material sector to the space, that enables these applications. We are also aware of the fast emerging gap between the both industries. That's becoming very common, as we are seeing. Many of the innovations in the material sector do not make them into the space industry supply chain. And the reason for that is because we've got a number of the space industry relies on a number of large organizations in the material supply chain that already are established, and supply chains, once they're established, they are least likely to look for other innovations that can come from smaller innovative enterprises within the sector. Therefore, we want to position the accelerator whereby at the intersection of both sectors, where we create visibility into the innovations that are within advanced materials that could be utilized for enabling such applications and systems. Of course, we also are supporting in space research, development, and manufacturing. That's an area where advanced material sector can really benefit. This is an emerging market where McKinsey & Company identifies this research in space research development as a new frontier for developing innovations and then product differentiations across a number of industries. We have a supply chain that's been created, and the advanced materials sector can really benefit from this because it allows essentially for manipulating materials in space environment in ways that's not possible on Earth, and thereby creating more sophisticated material systems, more superior material systems. There are already innovative multinationals such as Lamborghini, Procter & Gamble, Adidas, and Verrechia. They're all already utilizing or have utilized space-based research and development to explore development of new superior products. And of course, that's because what we've been encouraging across the accelerator in our market stimulation, market promotion, we've been encouraging innovative materials companies to look at the features of space environments, such as lack of convection, sedimentation, all happening simultaneously with vacuum. For them we've been encouraging them to look at how can they utilize the features of space environment to develop solutions and address cross-sector technical challenges in materials such as lightweighting, multifunctionality, to address some of the technical challenges that are emerging in frontier applications, both within industrial applications such as net zero energy systems, quantum computing, and also space applications, as we mentioned earlier, space-based solar power and others. There are also major challenges that the accelerator is trying to tackle where it can. There is supply side services. If you look at this, if you look from the supply side services, the commercial service providers that they're emerging, their capabilities are emerging, the business models are emerging, there is no transparency on the price and costing, and that really puts a lot of the people that would have utilized the space environment or would be keen to utilize the space environment, puts them up. And also service providers, we've realized that many of them are offering general services instead of being able to work with customers to develop tailored services for them, essentially customized research and development. On the demand side, there are very common challenges that we have. There's lack of understanding and awareness about the opportunities that space provides. Many of the industry players, they do not have any understanding of how to really navigate these microgravity platforms or essentially create customized research that enables to drive their research and development goals. And there's also lack of funding channels and also enabling partnerships that we are trying to resolve here as much as we can. Therefore, there are major disconnects here. And through our market assessment, we've also looked at a lot of opportunities or a lot of experiments that had happened in the last 2 decades. Majority of those experiments fall within basic research. That's not of an interest to the industry. That's of interest essentially to discovery and understand what microgravity can enable. The industry is interested in product development. If we can support elevating the research and development from current basic research to applied research and development, essentially using microgravity environment and facilities to develop solutions for targeted applications, for application challenges, that's when the industry gets interested. And we have to do that through advocacy, tailored engagements with individual companies, and also demonstrating success cases, because there is yet none. The way we're approaching, the way we've set up the accelerator is for it to really take this holistic approach, where the accelerator is a consortium sits at the core of this market stimulation program, whereby we engage the materials industry, we bring research and research and development projects. We also bring funding. We're closely working with the microgravity platform service providers to make them understand of the requirements of the industry and their needs, because materials industry is very diverse value chains and material system. And we are also working with regional hubs to increase the reference of microgravity and research development roadmaps of the both industries. In terms of goals, our target is to, in terms of project portfolio development, we are developing a portfolio of 15 projects. That's our target. And to support that 15 projects, our target of fund development is 4 million. 2 million will be raising from the industry and public sectors. The other 2 million will be match funded by European Space Agency. Our deadlines are 30th of November for submission of applications. The portfolio diversity, the proposals that the projects that the Accelerator will support, just to summarize here, will be those projects that will leverage space-based research and development, microgravity, space environment to drive innovations in materials and manufacturing solutions, and also any innovations that can come from the materials industry to enable those space-enabled space infrastructure and new applications that we are currently seeing. There will also, in the next phase, we will also be having sponsor-led initiatives, mainly for the actual platform service providers, space stations, because they are very keen to understand what hardware they will require to deploy in their space stations and the emerging space stations to enable or accelerate research and development and materials. And the portfolios will focus on innovations that really interplay between novel discoveries and tangible products. Those projects need to address known or novel engineering challenges in industrial or space applications. And of course, those portfolios, the projects have to also, we'll select them in a way that offers investor community an attractive risk-reward investment profile and strong business cases. The innovations, the proposals, the project proposals that will be submitted fall in 3 categories. We are allowing for a lot of business and concept maturations, and in category 1, which rewards are up to 30K. There's prototype developments and pre-flight feasibilities that will take place. Those are 200K, and also in orbit demonstrations, including category 2, which will be up to 750. And And through our accelerator, through our consortium, and through the network that we're growing, we are able to provide a variety of in-house services to the projects and the ecosystems and the network that we're developing. Thank you very much.
So why space for sustainable agriculture and food? What are the value propositions? So I make it very brief. In agriculture and food, we have some difficulties due to climate change. We don't know how to feed people in 20, 30 years, so we need to increase the crop yield again against the climate change challenges. We have decreasing water usage necessary, decreasing chemical uses, and so on. And in the food, on the food sector, we need to create longer lasting foods. So also with regard to packaging, that's more important. We have to prevent removing disease causing biofilms and these topics. So what is, we covered 3 topics in our open call. This is, one is seeds and plant nutrition, which you see here. The second was crop monitoring and management. And the third one was food behavior, formulation and packaging. So if you are interested in these details and in the full presentation, we will share the slides. But on the other hand, you can also get access via a link to our website where you can find the presentation in detail. So what we want to say is we already finished our open call for ideas. And the result was that we got 70 ideas for humankind, which were submitted. And what we are currently doing is we are preparing the 70 ideas, which is a huge amount of work because all the ideas are marvelous. And with a specific ranking system, and then we are selecting them together with ESA for the step 2 preparation, so that the selected ones will be invited to provide a project. So all the details were mentioned already in the Mendes presentation. So there is not a big difference besides the content. The process remains the same. And then I will just come to the funding slides, because my topic is now looking for the funding already. And so I just would like to give you a small introduction to our venture boutique services, because this is very important. You see, one of the services is also an SEE fund. Besides this SEE fund, we also have a sponsoring association. So a sponsoring association will collect money from sponsors, and the sponsors will get a tax credit for spending money for research in space. But you know, what is very important is that there are also investors who want to invest equity. So we are also preparing a fund so that we are able to invest into a company. That part of this budget will also be provided for the flight project. The flight project will become the use case for this company, which is also very interesting for an economic point of view. And the other 50% of the flight project budget will be matched by ESA. This is the plan. And just coming to the last slide, as mentioned, should be just a brief presentation. So you see from ideation, acceleration, incubation, and funding, what are the steps. So we are currently developing we did the market assessment as mentioned before. So we received 70 ideas now from startups, SMEs, multinationals, but also research groups. And what we are now doing is we are selecting these ideas, and some of the ideas are already provided by companies. Sometimes you just have some organizations who are looking for a consortium in order to execute and to go ahead with this idea. So the next steps, which will be developed in phase 2 of the BSGN project, will be then the acceleration to company or an idea. So if you have an acceleration into a company, then there will be an investment committee, will provide via an accelerator process from the 70 ideas down selected to 3 ideas, 3 companies who would get also an equity injection, and with the possibility for the investors, for example, that there will go also an exit. So what we are offering is unicorn projects with terrestrial use and economic value. This is very important. We have excellent, marvelous ideas among these 70 ideas. And what we are looking for is, we are looking for investors who are interested for to spend money as a grant in this sponsoring association, so that we can finance 50% of the research projects with terrestrial use and economic value. And we are looking also for equity investors for our Venture Fund 1, as described here. So thank you very much for your attention. And this was a presentation. As mentioned, you get the slides, and we are also open and here for your questions. Thank you very much. Space time.